is just to tell people you're not conforming to their needs and nip it in the butt right away.
Yeah,
Because I've
exactly.
put so much like nodding and smiling and being
Yes.
friendly because it's a networking and comedy about FaceTime
Yeah,
and
you don't want to burn
networking and
bridges. And
you
yeah,
want to burn a
exactly.
bridge. And I put in so much time with like nobodies that have never performed. They don't own a club. They're just ranting to me
Yeah,
after a set, like telling me all this bullshit. And I
yeah.
should have just like, why did I
Be
stand there
like,
for five to
no.
10 minutes of my
Ex-
life?
yeah,
Just
just
like, if you're
acting
not
up
even
to it
comfortable, just pretend your phone's ringing, be like, oh, I gotta take this and walk
and walk
away.
away.
Or
Yes.
just be like, I don't need to conform to your needs. Like,
Hmm.
I'd like to see you try this
Yeah,
if they're not a comedian. And
exactly.
otherwise, just be like, my brand of comedy is not for you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. This is season 4 of Shooting the Breeze. And this week, my guest is my good friend, Christabelle Witt. She's a comic based in Ottawa, like me. And thank you for coming. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's
Yeah,
awesome to be on this.
thank you. Thank you. Because we were talking before we started recording about the last time you were on was about 2 years ago. And
Yeah,
we knew each other, but we were just becoming friends at that point. So, but
yeah,
thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
yeah, no
So,
problem.
we'll just get into it. Like uh how has comedy been for you from the last time we look from the last time I had you on the show, which was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, so that would have been in the thick of the pandemic. So it was closings, reopenings, and just like really skeleton sized crowds, I would say, back then. And just I don't know, trying new material and being flustered. I remember having like the mask and the mics, and you change the mic, and there's cordless mics, and it being all this like flustered stress, even
Yeah,
though there's
behind
like,
plexiglass and everything
yeah,
too.
the plexiglass, you gotta not bug it. I don't know, all sorts of things. And then now, for the first time, like even within the last 2 months, I would say like the open mic rooms like Swizzles, they've felt more like the before times, before the pandemic, like really full rooms and really like vibrant energy and really valuable, for trying new material versus when some of the reopenings first happened. People almost like didn't remember how to laugh and they weren't really open to things.
It's
And you're
true.
just
It's
like,
true.
we can do this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find it's a lot better now, more fulsome rooms. People are remembering how to interact in public and well, some of them aren't,
Yeah.
but
Because that's another thing. It felt like in some rooms, I'm sure you saw this, that it was almost as though people forgot how to behave in public or how to interact with other people. Like it was strange.
yeah, totally. Or
Yeah.
people get fatigued like really quickly in person versus Zoom or vice versa. So it's just everybody's still adjusting a little bit, but
Yeah.
not nearly as bad.
True, true. Because I know, like during the thick of it, so like say 2 years ago and before, I found myself getting used to the limited the limited seating, getting used to, oh, 25 people are here, woohoo, it's
Yes,
packed, sort of thing. Was it a
exactly.
big adjustment for you, like when rooms started to get back to capacity and restrictions started falling away? Like was that stressful for you, or was that something you were really looking forward to?
It didn't feel stressful. It felt more gradual. Like I slowly was doing like open mic rooms and then booked rooms, and then it was like slowly the trickle of the reopening. So it didn't get too overwhelming too quick. And then I felt less flustered because I didn't have to remember a mask, remember the mic is wireless, remember to trade mics or sanitize mics. The only thing that got like was a bit bigger of an experience was the Ottawa comedy, that pornomedy. And that was more of a layout of a room because it was instead of tables of people, it was people like lined up straight like in rows one by one. So I guess that was a different experience because I hadn't, like, being in a pandemic, had people row by row looking right at me in, like, a well-lit area, so I guess that
Okay.
was the most, like, post-pandemic culture shock experience was like, "Oh, yeah, people, they do this." And, like,
And that was
in an
that was during the Fringe or something, right? That show?
yeah,
Was
I
that
believe
Fringe? Okay.
or that was Pornomedy was Ottawa Comic Con, so I don't remember what month it was in, but yeah,
And
it
that
was
was Monica Hamburg's show, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, and it went really well, like, everybody there was open to laughter and, like, the new experience and stuff like that, so that part was great, they were really welcoming, but
It's
yeah, I
good.
guess for me, that was the biggest, like, kind of different experience after being in isolation to some degree for a couple of
Yeah.
years.
Oh, wow. Because what I've discovered is that even though I like a full room, I like it when I can't see the whole audience. You know,
Yes.
like that's a very weird thing when it's bright and you
Yeah.
see everyone. Like that that throws me off. I don't like it. I like it when it's dark and that you could see maybe the first row, first couple of rows and then and that's it. But when it's well lit and you see everybody and you see everything, I don't like that at all.
Yeah, exactly, and then there's rooms like Abs where the spotlight is good, it's, like, blinding out the audience, but then there's the mirror in the back room of the upstairs room, so you're like, "Okay, I at least don't need to, like, see the audience eye by eye here, but now I just see my own
I'm just
reflection.
just watching myself.
Why is this happening? Because there's, like, the light up here, so you kinda gotta be alert to that
Yes.
area. It's hard to avoid just, like, direct eye contact with yourself in a
With
mirror
yourself.
too. I'm
It's true.
that could be considered, like, another post-pandemic culture shock experience, even, like,
It's true.
you're like,
It's
"Why?"
true. Like I love that room
Yeah,
and
same.
like that room I can see everybody but it's not bright.
Yeah,
You know, like
exactly,
the
it's
only
a good
people who are
lighting.
bright are the ones who are fairly close to the stage, but you know, you see shadows. You see shadows and I'm okay with that, but it's just
Same.
but yeah, your reflection is bright as fuck and it's like
For sure, yeah. Just the odd glance over there. It's like, you get used to
and
it,
you're
but
like
yeah,
is everything
forgot about it.
okay?
Yeah,
It's
exactly. Because
true.
for yeah, for a couple years, yeah, I hadn't done the upstairs room at Abs during some of those closures and reopenings kind of thing, so, yeah, that was the one thing I
Yeah,
remembered too.
the mirror. Yeah, I
So,
wonder why it's there.
yeah, I don't
I
know, it might like, it reflects light it probably gives an illusion that the room is larger, I think that's why people do mirrored walls, so,
okay,
yeah, because it's
okay. Because
like
I always wondered, like, it's a
mm,
cool effect.
for sure.
But I always wondered. I was like, there has to be a reason, not just design, but something giving. Yeah, maybe gives the illusion that the room is more full or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
You
for
know.
sure. Hard to say, but it's funny.
Yeah, I'm just glad to not be behind plexiglass anymore.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, that was I never adjusted to that because it was like it's one thing, okay, we have to wear a mask to be on stage or to get to the stage, but being behind the glass, I just felt it was uncomfortable. It
Mhm,
was hot. It got really
mhm.
hot in there and you really couldn't see, which I was okay with actually. Now that I
Yeah,
realized I was okay with not seeing anybody, but you would just see your reflection, like depending on how the
yeah,
glass was how it was configured, you would
for
just see your
sure.
reflection, you know.
Yeah, the plexi made it hard because if you're trying new material, the laughter is a bit muffled because people are remembering how to, like, laugh in general, and then if you can't see even, like, that front row because the plexiglass makes it a little hazy, it was hard, yeah, trying new
Hmm.
material actually during that period.
Right. And even behind the plexiglass, remember people were still nobody was
Oh,
up at the stage. People were still far from the stage, so you
yeah.
really couldn't see much.
Exactly, I was
Yeah.
like, "Well, at least I did Zoom comedy, so I remember
Exactly. Zoom
what
helped.
that
Zoom was
feels
helpful in
like."
that front,
Yeah,
you know. I
you're
got
kind of
comfortable with silence very
yeah,
quickly.
for
Which is
sure.
weird.
Yeah,
Yeah, the only thing that I wish had stayed as things open was the switching of the mics.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
seems like a good practice,
Mm-hmm.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Well, the hand sanitizer could be a good well, mind you, it is still sitting in front of most venues and stuff, the
Yes.
sanitizer and all that, so that's good to see.
It's good that it's still there. Yes. Yes. But I know I wish that switching out the mic was still a thing,
Mhm.
that was, and I understand it takes time, which is why I don't like, I have my own mic, and like
Yeah,
during the pandemic, like I would use my own mic, which was fine, and I was able to do it because we were switching out mics anyway. But to
right,
do it
exactly.
now, it's like everybody's watching, and it's like, one I did one show and somebody went, "Ooh, fancy," and I was like, okay, I'm never doing this again.
That
Like,
makes it even more awkward, yeah, as if
exactly, it was already awkward, and so I never used it again. you
yeah,
know
that's totally fair.
when you really think about it, mics are gross. Like, they're really
Yeah, oh
they're
my
really
gosh.
disgusting. you know?
Ugh,
Yeah, it's really gross. And I think we're like hyper aware of how gross it is now. Like, we probably didn't think of it before. Like, I
yeah,
remember, um and this must have been about a month or two before the shutdown. So there was talk of COVID and everything, but nothing was happening here yet. And I was at a show, and a guy who was up, I don't remember his name or anything, but he was up maybe two or three people before me,
mhm.
and he was holding the mic right against his mouth,
Ooh,
and he
ugh,
coughed into the mic.
oh my gosh,
Like
why?
yeah, like a wet, like into the mic. And I remember sitting there going, that's disgusting. Like, couldn't he have like moved the mic away or something? Like, you had to cough into it. And
Yeah.
then, like,
Ooh,
I don't know, 15 minutes later, I'm up there with the same mic to my mouth, not thinking
oh my god,
anything. And it's like, it's just
that's
gross.
very yucky.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
yeah. So I don't know. I just think that's an easy thing that can be done. And
Yeah.
I don't understand why that was stopped, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Or even the mic condoms, like just switching those or covering it
Yeah,
up just
yeah,
for cold
something
flu
like
season
that. Because
even.
you can get
Yeah,
like 5,000 on Amazon for like 20 bucks, you know?
exactly. Yeah.
So yeah. But I guess it's part of like trying to get everything back to as normal as possible, as close to the way things were before all of these
Yeah,
weird things. So I don't know.
exactly.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So we got to record an album last
Yeah,
year in
that was
April. That was
cool.
very exciting and very cool. Like, how was that experience for you?
It was really good for me. I was really impressed with like the Howlin' Roar setup and their level of professionalism with us. And yeah, it was cool. I don't know. It made me realize, yeah, obviously, like I don't know that we were all so supported in the Ottawa community actually, because the rooms, both the early and late show, were pretty packed. So that was nice to see.
Yeah.
And everybody at that point was finally used to being out in public and used to
Yes.
consuming comedy a little more. So it was like a well timed recording.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because
so
it was early in April, right? It was like early April or something. So I think all the restrictions were lifted at the end of March or something like
mhm.
that. So we'd had like a little bit of time of like being out and being free and not, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was a very cool experience. Like, have you been able to travel at all to do comedy in the last 2 years? Like, have you gone like outside of Ottawa to perform?
A little bit in Montreal, and then yeah, I found the rooms there are really vibrant and really like some are more sex positive or welcoming than say the Ottawa crowds in general. So Yeah, I do have kind of like a sexual and jarring style in some bits, and then I am working now to pare it back a little bit. Like I have a lot of really dark material now as well, and then I have like some more modest material. So I'm trying different things so that I can, you know, be welcome in any city or any space, but I find like my natural trajectory was like variety shows like The Wiggle Room, for example, just because it's a mix of burlesque performers. There was a magician performing, and then there was uh, two comedy acts in that particular show. And sometimes, like some people do feel that comedy doesn't really blend with other art forms, such as, you know, prior to a band going up on a stage or things like that. But and some people feel like it's been a really good experience for them, you know, performing before a different type of arts. I found, yeah, like that room, they have an established audience, so their audience knows what to expect also. So that makes it a welcoming space for all the
Mhm.
different art forms. So maybe that's why it went better. But yeah, I really enjoyed that particular spot last summer. And yeah, like McKibben's Pub in Montreal is really a great space as
Mhm.
well. And then there's all sorts of like third floor comedy club. Um, yeah, just a ton of stuff in Montreal that's really cool to see. And I'm hoping in the new year, I'm hoping to travel and get accepted into more like festivals and stuff like that. So we'll see. I was waiting this year, my passport was kind of stuck in the renewal process.
Oh yeah, because you lost out on an opportunity to go to a festival because of the your passport got held up something or held up somewhere or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. They just had a huge backlog of passport applicants and a shortages of staff approving them. But I have it now, and that particular festival, they at least said they will welcome me back this year. So
Oh,
I'm
that's
hoping
good.
to make it work this year. Yeah, it should be all fine. So yeah, that'll be a new experience, like just going to another country and doing festival and networking there.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, I noticed also now Kingston is opening up like more brewery kind of shows. And what's the other one coming back? Oh yeah, Grad Club
Oh
is
yeah.
back doing monthly shows and stuff, which I found it's a younger, like a student audience, but it's actually I like the challenge of making like
Yeah.
students laugh or like all ages really. It's just
Yeah.
like, well, everybody always says you should be able to make any room work as a comic. It
It's
can
true.
be tricky to make every
It's
single
true.
joke
Yeah.
land in every room, but to
Yeah.
have like something that people relate to, even yeah, younger audience is
Hmm.
cool, I think, and
Yeah.
rewarding and fun.
Oh,
So
for sure. For sure. For sure. Um, because I know I want to do the wiggle room. I haven't done that one yet. And yeah, there are a couple of rooms that I don't know if I've just heard about them or if they've been around for a little while,
mhm.
that I'd like to go to as well. And I know like the thing like last year with your passport, and you sent that in well in advance. It's not like you sent it in a week before you were supposed to go. Like you had a lot of lead time, like that
Yeah.
ordinarily you it shouldn't have been a problem, you know?
Yeah,
So
exactly, and I
yeah.
paid the express fee or
Yeah. Oh,
whatever it
that's
was, all
true.
sorts
That's
of things.
true. My God. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that
was
was
crazy.
well, I'm glad that you'll have you have the opportunity to that they sort of stayed your acceptance last year and that you could most likely go back again this
Yeah,
year. Like at least that's good, and I hope that that works out. At least you don't have to
for
worry about the
sure.
passport thing. At least
Yeah,
you have the passport,
exactly.
and that's that's all taken care of and everything. So that's good. And
Yeah.
I also wanted to ask you because you were a big part of like a huge thing that happened to me in 2022, and we went to Toronto together with our friend Peter. And I spoke to him on this is his episode's going to be broadcast in a few weeks, but I spoke to him a few weeks ago, and I asked him like what the experience was like for him. But I'm curious to know what that whole, because you were there from like the minute it happened till you saw the whole thing. So I'm curious like what your experience with that was like.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
It feels
first
like
of
so
all,
long ago.
yeah, it was such a series of events because it was like we first had seen Mark Normand in Ottawa at the meet and greet, and that's when he recognized you. And then, like, the audience, well, the lineup of people also in the meet and greet knew you from, I believe, Cornwall. So they were like vouching for you to open for him in front of me and you and him. And he was like, "Oh, yeah, I heard that." And we were like, "How did he
What?
hear this news?"
How
He
did
was
you
talking
hear
about
this?
Simone. Who are you? And then I remember just like finally meeting him and like freezing up, not knowing what to say. I got a photo with him, and then I just blanked on how to handle famous people that I love and idolize. So that experience was cool to see your hustle kind of come together all at once, like in a meet and greet in front of Mark Norman, because he recognized you also from when you met him
Yeah, I
in the
met
States.
him in the States about a month and a half, 2 months at the end of August.
Yeah, and I
The
was
same
impressed
meet and
because
greet. Yeah.
imagine how many people he sees in
That's
like a
the
week,
thing.
right? With meet
Yeah.
and greet.
Yeah. Because I remember, I don't know if I had mentioned it to you, but I know thinking to myself, I was like, I wonder if he would remember me or recognize me. And I was like, oh, probably not. Because it was literally just like a few minutes, met him, hi, how are, I love the show, took a picture, and that was it. And I
Yeah,
was like, how many hundreds of people, if he does this after every show, meets
exactly.
people, like how many hundreds, thousands of people has he met in that time? So I was just as gobsmacked when he recognized me, because I wasn't going to say anything. I was just going to go up, love the show, da da da, and he went,
Yeah.
he remembered
Exactly.
me. Like,
Yeah.
and he's like, I don't
Yeah,
remember
that's
your name, and that was fine because I never told him my name.
yeah,
I never told him. I
exactly.
don't think I ever told him my name.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and
so
I find just in general, like his personality in person, especially when we met him at the Danforth Music Hall in Toronto, his personality off stage kind of matches his stage presence and podcast presence completely. Whereas my comedy persona is pretty different from like my
yes.
off stage presence. So that's cool to see, I guess. And no, like I had no doubt that he was like authentic and genuine to his
Yeah.
true self, whereas mine is like this an exaggerated version of my persona on stage kind
Yeah,
of thing.
me too. Me too. It's
Yeah.
the same. Yeah.
So that was cool. And then yeah, the whole experience in Toronto, I guess I was just floored the whole train ride down. It was nice that we could meet Pete in Kingston, have like part of our crew
Yeah.
there on the train. And then yeah, just I don't know. I felt nervous just in my gut. Like I had no doubt that you were gonna slay it, but I was also I think it was a nervous energy like floating or something.
And I was super
Um
nervous, so I'm sure it like rubbed off on you
yeah,
guys.
somehow,
Yeah.
but then we had that little guy in the Airbnb, like the little critter
Oh,
man.
the cricket or whatever it
Did we
was.
name him? We
Oh,
named him
Alonzo or something. What was his name? Alfonso or
Alfonso, the
something.
billion-legged buddy. And then Pete and I were just trying to make you laugh to be like, don't be nervous, it's all funny here. And yeah, then we got on the road, and I guess like when I realized how big of an event it was for you, like obviously it's Mark Norman and it's huge, but um when you entered Danforth Music Hall, and then Pete and I had to go get in line like a couple of suckers, and the line is like down the road, and I was like, oh my god.
Oh
So I
yeah, it
start
was a long line. It was a long line. Yeah.
B-roll, yeah, exactly. And then Pete like met people in the line. Like everything feels like a comedy family reunion. Like he just knew people as we were walking, and it's just
Yeah, because
that
he
just
lived
shows.
there for a little while, and he was in
Yeah,
the
that shows
comedy
how
world a few.
how small the community is or something.
Yeah.
Because
Oh yeah.
yeah, so then we, like, get 2 blocks down the street and we're like, "Okay, this is the end of the line," and I guess that's when it really sunk in for me. I don't know, like, when it sunk in for you that it was a huge like, of course, you knew it was a huge, like, moment and opportunity, but, like, when did it sink in for you, I guess?
When did it sink in for me? I think when we got there and we were on the sidewalk and the guy came and got me.
Yeah,
I think it
okay.
was that, just
'Cause then
that.
you felt you were like, "Wow, I'm in
Yeah,
this now."
because like with shows, usually we go in where everybody else goes in, and it's like you go in the same door and it's like, oh, okay, the comics are over there, I'll go over there, sort of thing. But this to be taken, like somebody to come out and meet me, I think actually it might have been in the Uber when I got a
Mhm.
text like, oh, what's your ETA?
Right.
And I was like, ah, they want to know where,
Yeah,
they're
you're
asking
like,
me where
"They know me."
they know me, they're waiting for me, this is real, it's happening like this.
Yeah,
But I
that
think
is
like it
something.
started at that point where it was like, holy shit, but when the guy came out and got me,
Yeah.
and we're walking by the people in the line, and then when we like cut through the line to walk in this alley, and I know people were looking like, who's that, like who is that,
Mhm.
sort of thing. And I
Yeah.
was just like, oh my god, all of these people are going to be sitting there. And then, yeah, and then once I got in and I saw my name on the door,
Yeah, that's fancy
and
too.
then on the call sheet with my name, then Rob's name, then Mark's name, and I was like, like it was like, it's happening. And then of course when he showed up, and I was just like, you
Yeah, like,
know?
freeze up a little, you're like,
Yeah, when he
"Okay."
showed up, I was like, okay, this is even though like
Yeah,
I knew like it was real, it was happening and everything, it just felt so much more like real, like, oh, this is for sure, like no one's gonna come out and go, gotcha, or
yeah,
something. Psych.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I liked also seeing, like, your process and that you had the stage time and opportunities in Ottawa and surrounding areas, like, leading up to that to, like, refine your set and your act, like, what you exactly envisioned and wanted to
Yeah.
be,
Yeah, I
for
was I
opening
was
for Mark.
fortunate for that I had a lot of opportunities to try things, test out different things, and
Mhm.
try different wording and stuff like that, so that by the time that happened, I was like, this is exactly how I'm going to say it,
Yeah,
but
exactly. Yeah, that's really nice to see. And I find even like within Ottawa, kind of with the open mic scene, we have the same thing, like where can do swizzles on a Monday, then pour boy on a Thursday, abs on a Wednesday, do 3 sets in, well, in my case, 3 sets in a week, and like try things differently or try things the same, and then record
mhm,
them, see how the audience reacts, and like change things, take things out.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
I like Ottawa for that, that we have something for everybody pretty much every day
true,
of the week to
yeah,
rehearse or work on things. It'd be nice.
exactly,
I feel like yeah, the only thing we're missing is probably more like writing workshops, but I realize those are like a lot of work to coordinate, a lot of time
yeah,
consumption as well.
yeah,
And
because
even
I
to
know I've
like
tried to attend some that people have tried to put together, I've tried to put
mhm,
stuff together, but it's people are busy,
yeah,
and you have like, everyone has the best of intentions, that like, yeah, okay, this time, this day at this time, and it doesn't always work out, like something,
yeah.
yeah, life happens, and it's not the easiest thing to maintain, you know
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like the Kingston scene for doing like they would do the odd Sunday brunch that was like bring one new joke and say it like at brunch. So it's like not a write a whole new orchestrate a
Yeah,
bunch
come
of
with
new
20
jokes.
minutes, new 20 minutes.
And like don't it there wasn't like a set time because it's just brunch, so people are just hanging out for a couple hours. Like you can come in
Yeah,
late, you can come in early, you can hang out for long or short. Like it's more
right.
casual. Whereas yeah, I think Ottawa is very in a very Ottawa way. It's like a
Yes,
very
like at 10
rigid.
o'clock, from 10 to 11, this is what we're
Yeah,
gonna do.
like we got kids, we gotta get home, we gotta
Yeah,
work at 9 a.m. like the government vibe and all that
exactly.
stuff that
Yeah,
just like makes us so structured. Nothing wrong with that, but it does make it a little bit trickier to run
hmm,
like a writing workshop room here.
yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Because I find it, like the few times that I've been able to do it, it's been really helpful. You
Mhm,
know, like if you have, if you have an idea you're trying to flesh out, or you have the bones of a joke and you're missing a tag, or it needs something, and it's all, I always find it really beneficial to say, okay, this is what I'm thinking, and you do it, and then someone will have some point of view that you didn't think of, and be able
mhm.
to, you know, well, why don't you take it in this direction, or why don't you try it like that? And I always
Yeah.
find that's useful. I always find that's really
Yeah,
useful and helpful, you
for
know?
sure. Yeah, I always like anticipating the ending of someone's bit, like, in a different way and, like, just letting them know, like, food for thought, and then they can
Yeah.
do with it what they wish or not
Hmm.
kind of thing. But,
Exactly. Exactly.
collaborating and, like, prescriptive advice, I think, are 2 different things, and yeah, there's a fine line of, like, how it's helpful and how it's, like, too much dictation of what you say
Yeah.
and do on a
Yeah.
stage. Oh
Exactly.
god.
Exactly. Because I know we've both been subjected to the critiques that maybe, that I personally don't think many male comics are policed, or for lack of a better word, policed with what they
Yeah.
say and how they say it. Like, I know I had the discussion with someone else, and they were like, "Oh, well, that hasn't really happened with me, and I don't think it's a very big deal," sort of thing. And I'm thinking it probably was, it's not a big deal to them because they haven't really been subjected to it, you
Mhm.
know? Like, how do you deal with that? Like, if somebody's telling you how to, what you should say and how you should say it, like how, like, what are your thoughts on that, and what's your reaction usually?
Yeah, I think I don't quickly respond with something, like, aggressive to somebody like that because it's usually somebody in a position of, like, power or authority, and you're like, "Okay, I don't wanna burn this bridge," kind of thing, but I also don't agree. So I'll usually take it away and reflect on it a bit and be like, "Okay, well, that person is of this, like" say an older generation where it's, like, not wildly accepted that, like, women talk about sex on a stage or something like that, but when they started comedy, say they've been in the business for 20 years, it was like, I also understand that it was a male-dominated, like, industry,
Still
and,
is, yeah.
yeah, and still is, and how, like, certain things were acceptable that men said versus women. So I almost don't take it personally anymore. I did at the time because it's like the way people speak to you or like, I don't know, like, yeah, they come across as like rude or abrasive and things like that. Um, but yeah, I don't take it personally anymore. I really think it's like dependent on that person's generation, how long they've been in comedy, what they've seen, and what their vision is for their comedy space. Sometimes like they don't want women talking about sex in their space because that's not what's acceptable for their corporate events. Like they want comics that are maybe flexible for everything, like Christmas
Yeah.
parties, this, that, like New
Yeah.
Year's Eve. I can see partly how I'm not an ideal fit in some spaces for that, and how in some spaces they are a welcoming sex positive space, and maybe their demographic would change if they welcome that style of comedy, in those other
Hmm.
spaces, but because they haven't, they feel like it's not their brand in their certain space. Um, so yeah, I reflect on it. I think it's sometimes it's just a generational
Yeah.
um thing, and like people do need to change the way they think about what
Yes.
women should say on a stage. And I think now that I've had a time to like reflect on that, I would like say mention that to somebody, say if they approach me again about it. But not in like an abrasive or aggressive way, just
Yeah.
like times have really changed. It's really a welcoming, um, community for that here in Ottawa. Not all the time, not every room, not early and
Right.
late show, but you can also control your brand and demographic by welcoming different walks of comedy and
Right.
different audiences as well, I think. So that's my thoughts on it, really. Yeah, I don't run into it too often, to be honest, but it does happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been my experience too. And I know the first few times it happened, it was like, like,
Yeah,
yeah, like
you're
I
like,
did take it personally and everything, but there was one time where um I was given like a not a tag, but was like, oh, you should take it in this direction and say this, and this. And I
mhm,
knew what was I understood the direction,
mhm,
but it took me a while. It took me probably about a month to like incorporate what the person was saying into my own voice and into something that I was comfortable saying, because the way that they said it, I would never have said it that way. You
mhm,
know, I would never, even though like the end result is the same, like the scenario was the same, it was the way
mhm,
that it was presented to me was like offensive to me and
mhm,
like kind of demeaning to me. And I was like, okay, I get what they're saying. I know that I understand that they're not being demeaning to me or belittling
mhm,
me. It's just the like
yeah,
the scenario of the joke. And so I had to really put the work and the I really had to put energy into saying, okay, I get what they're saying. How do I say it in my own way? How do I say that same thing but in a way that is not insulting to myself and still funny and still gets that
mhm,
point across without being offensive to me. And it took a long time. It took a while. I think, yeah, I want to say it took about a month to get like the
yeah,
wording and the timing and the pacing just right, to the point where I was like,
yeah.
okay, I'm comfortable saying this, you
That's
know?
good, yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. Because at the end of the day, like, it's your brand of comedy, it's your stage presence, like,
I-
and this is an art form, so it feels a little off when people try to really, like, get into it with you
yeah,
with the
yeah,
details, I would say.
exactly.
And I would say, like, Ottawa is the only place where I've
Me
experienced that
too.
kind of prescriptive feedback from older men that think
Yes.
they know, and they aren't
Better.
actively performing comedy themselves. So it's like, how legit is this kind of feedback and all sorts of things. Um,
I
but
agree
yeah,
with
other
you.
cities, they have no problem
Yeah,
with those producers.
I've never been approached and told like you shouldn't say that or say it like this, or people don't
Yeah.
want to hear that from you. I've never been
Yeah.
told that
Very
outside of here.
Ottawa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made me feel very censored initially. I
Yes,
was like,
yes. I was very offended and very angry about it first. Like, how dare you? Like, are you doing that to the men sort of thing? Yeah, I know.
yeah,
I felt very stifled by
yeah,
it.
and there is a double standard. Yeah, like I will make a joke about masturbation in my set and watch a male comic do a joke about masturbation in his set and get booked and opportunities on weekends, like verbally in front of me, and me told that I'm not getting those opportunities in front of him
Yeah.
and the whole audience of other comics and like
Yeah.
their wives and like the hang. You're like,
Exactly.
okay, this is at a certain point demeaning and
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, but on the flip side, like outside of Ottawa, I would say the good news, like going to Montreal or Kingston or surrounding small towns in general, they are really welcoming to women in comedy,
Yes.
and they are always aware that they need more women on their shows. They want more like equal shows, whereas in Ottawa, it's like, okay, we just need two women on this lineup of eight people. But then you go to all other cities, it's like, no, we're trying to do half and half or
Yeah,
something.
it's true.
Actually, mind you, the Ruckus crew, their production company here in Ottawa, they are trying to do more and more like equal women and men
Mm-hmm.
on some of their shows too. So that's nice to see.
Yeah. But
Um,
I find like here with us, at least in Ottawa, um, there there's a limited number of active women comics. They're like, I don't know,
true.
eight of us or something. Like there are
So
very
true.
few of us that are active, like regularly active. You know,
Hmm.
there yeah, there are more than a dozen there are more than a dozen women doing comedy, but women doing comedy on a regular basis, like consistently,
Yeah.
where that's a handful of us,
Yeah,
you
yeah, and I
know?
would say that prior to the pandemic, I felt like we had more women in comedy, and, some of them did move, like, provinces, cities, that stuff like that, so
Yes.
that was definitely a pandemic impact for sure,
But
which is a
it seems
bummer.
like we're fewer now. We're
Yeah,
fewer now because there's still a
totally.
lot of shows that, that I see, advertised that it's all men. And I
Mhm.
know it's not a like, oh yeah, this is just going to be guys. It's just,
Yeah, it's not intentional, but it
it's not
still is like a
intentional at
thing that
all. It's
happens.
just, yeah, there aren't enough women. There aren't enough women to
Yeah,
go around because I think just off the top of my head, I don't know, I'm thinking
maybe
maybe
like a
six or
dozen.
seven.
Yeah, 6 to 12
Six,
that are
yeah,
regular.
yeah,
6
regular.
regular and 6,
Hmm.
like, are so
Yeah,
busy that
others who
it's like
like drift in, drift out. There are a few I haven't heard from or haven't seen in a long time.
yeah.
But yeah, like active, active performers, maybe
Mhm.
six, and that's not a lot.
No.
That's not a lot. Like, so we're still numbers wise, we're still very few. We're very strong. Those of us
Mhm.
who are doing it, we're good and we're
Yeah.
strong, but there's so few of us,
Yeah,
there's so few of
exactly.
us that even if somebody wanted to do a show with half and half, a show with 10 comics, 5 men, 5 women, the 5 women, that's like the whole that's the whole community. That's the whole
Yeah.
active women
Yeah, so
community. And
true.
it's like, what are the chances of getting us all available on the same date, the same time for the same show? Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
you know, and
Oh,
it's 2023. Like, we shouldn't be like more than one woman on a show or more than one person of color on the show shouldn't be like, ooh, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
especially
Like,
not in a city the size of Ottawa. It's so big
exactly.
here.
Exactly. Like, it's big.
Oh,
Like, Ottawa's not gigantic, but it's big enough that
yeah,
you know.
exactly. And I was curious because you took, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, Pierre Brault comedy classes, and
Yes.
how was the divide between women and men there? Um,
Um, when I took it, by the end, I remember the very first day, we were like 14, and I'd
mhm,
say it was more men, but it wasn't half and half. There were a few more men. But
okay,
by 6 weeks later, by the time we did our show,
mhm.
um, I think we were 3 women and the
Oh,
rest were
crazy.
men. Yeah, we were only three, and the class size was like cut in half because people
Wow,
dropped out and stuff like that. So I think at the end we were maybe 7 to 10 of us, and we
okay.
were 3 women.
Bummer, that's
Yeah.
crazy, eh?
And of that class, 2 of us are still doing it. I
Right,
continued right away, and then Emmett continued like the year after. Emmett came back
right.
about a year after. So that's where I met Emmett, in that class.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Small world.
Mhm. Mhm. But yeah, even in the class, we're outnumbered, and um I don't know what the demographics are like with the current classes or
Mhm.
the classes since. But it's still male dominated. It's still mainly men um
Yeah.
doing it. It's still heavily male dominated still.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
find that's the tough part, especially about Ottawa particularly, and I've even had, like, female headliners kind of, like, attack me about my style and voice on stage and
Really?
my visual, like, what I look like. Like, they've told me to wear my hair in a ponytail and, like, wear a button-up shirt, like, the most weirdest
That's
prescriptive
strange.
feedback, and, like, don't say the word pussy, so just as demeaning as, like, male space comedy space owners as well, coming from, like, female
Like other
headliners, so I
women,
guess,
yeah.
like, not as
Internalized
frequently,
misogyny.
obviously. Yeah, not as frequently, obviously, but yeah, that's even happened to me, so that's weird. I am curious
That's true.
if, like,
Yeah.
men in comedy ever get weird for certain, like, "Don't say the word dick on stage," like, do they ever get weird feedback
Yeah,
like that
I
as
doubt
well?
it. I
I'm
doubt it. I
curious.
think like they'd have to say something like really like outrageous for someone to
Yeah,
check them, but because somebody told me, somebody mentioned last, I think it was last week, that they were told, a woman was told
mhm,
that she couldn't say pussy, and she
okay.
was like, "Oh, so no one can say pussy?" And they were like, "No, just women. Only the women can't say pussy. Men can say whatever the fuck they want, but women couldn't say pussy."
Funny.
Which is just really like, yeah,
I can't
yeah, that's, I don't know, I find it weird. I look forward to a time where we're not going to be checked, or if people are going to be checked, that everyone's being checked. You know what
mhm,
I mean? That
exactly.
it's not something that's just reserved for women,
Yeah,
you know,
I
that,
couldn't. That's so crazy.
yeah, it's, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I like I'm sure I'm sure it could be the same for you. I'm tired of I don't hear it that much anymore.
Yeah.
Um but I yeah, I went through the whole thing of like, oh, they needed a woman, that's why you were booked on that show. Or, you
Oh,
know, they needed somebody of color, that's why you got booked. You know, you filled two boxes, you're person of color and female, so that's why you
brutal.
got it. You know, I don't get that as often anymore, but I know that was a thing.
Yeah, yeah, luckily, like, I'm 4 years in, and I don't get that often either that I was, like, the token female,
Yeah,
and I also don't hear as often any weird people's opinions after my set either. That was
yeah,
something that came in really hard and fast in the first 2 years, and now it happens, like, once a year or once every
yeah.
6 months
Same
to me,
same
so
with
that's
me. Yeah.
better.
Yeah, thank God. I know, because
Yeah,
it's a weird thing where somebody, and I know one time it was somebody who didn't even do comedy.
yeah,
Just some random person who felt like he was in a position to tell me
yes.
how to do my joke. And it's like, "Oh, are you a comic?" No.
Yeah, have you
Like, what do
ever
you do?
performed? It's
Have you
people
ever
that have
done
never
it?
performed. Yeah,
Never. Yet feels
exactly.
compelled. Like, I watched,
Yeah.
I watched Saturday Night Live. I know what I'm talking about. No, you don't.
Yeah,
Like,
I think, like, my advice for women out there who deal with this is just to tell people you're not conforming to their needs and nip it in the butt right away.
yeah,
Because 'cause I've put
exactly.
so much, like, nodding and smiling and being
Yes.
friendly because it's a networking and comedy, about FaceTime
Yeah,
and
you don't want to burn
networking and
bridges, and
you
yeah,
wanna burn a
exactly.
bridge, and I put in so much time with, like, nobodies that have never performed. They don't own a club, they're just ranting to me
Yeah.
after a set, like, telling me all this bullshit, and I
Yeah.
should have just, like, why did I
Be
stand there
like,
for 5 to
no.
10 minutes of my life?
Yeah,
Just,
just
like, if
I've
you're
done
not even
that too.
comfortable, just pretend your phone's ringing, be like, "Oh, I gotta take this," and walk
And walk
away.
away.
Or
Yes.
just be like, "I don't need to conform to your needs, like,
Hmm.
I'd like to see you try this
Yeah,
if they're not a comedian," and
exactly.
otherwise just be like, "My brand of comedy is not for you, and that's okay, and that doesn't bother me," kinda thing, but yeah, my first
Exactly.
couple of years in comedy, it was very, like, meek, nod and smiling. I just wish I could kick myself back then for
Me
it,
too. But the
so
thing is, at
simply.
the time, it was like you're new,
Yeah,
and
you don't
you don't
know.
want to burn bridges. You don't want to be seen as difficult or anything
Yeah,
like that. And it's like, yeah, yeah, because I've been in that position too, where you're just like, and you
yeah,
like you're
you're like, "How
seething
do
because
I
you're
get
like,
out
this
of this?"
guy doesn't know what he's talking. This guy's never has never set foot on a stage, yet he feels
Yeah.
compelled to stand here and tell me how I should be doing
Oh
something he's never
god.
done.
Exactly, and I think that applies to any art form really, like music, burlesque,
Hmm.
magic, like anything I've seen, any performance art, like that's
Yeah,
your art
yeah,
to live through and have and express yourself. It's like, since when?
yeah,
Like, yes, there is
exactly.
structure to jokes and certain things and setups and punchlines, but anybody telling you anything else, like, I don't even know. And even
Yeah.
still, just like, take a walk, buddy, or
Exactly.
person
And like
in
you
me.
said, it's like maybe my brand of art is not for you, and that's fine,
Yeah,
you know? And
exactly. But
yeah, because I
yeah,
understand
it's
like people liking certain styles or not liking certain styles. Um,
mhm,
but to go up to somebody and say, I think you should say it like this, or I don't think
mhm.
you should say that. You shouldn't be saying things like that on stage, you know? I remember somebody saying to you, like, how are you going to find a husband?
Oh, yeah, I've really gotten, like, lectures. It's so hilarious, and that is the older generation,
Yeah,
like, I'm talking like, not to put too fine a point of it, but you're like, "Okay, this is the person of a generation where women are meant to be housewives and not talk about sex and
and be
not, like,
quiet
pick up
and
a microphone and, like, all that." So
yeah,
that's
use your
really, like,
voice.
now what I've been able to, like, I don't know, kind of come up and realize, like, come up for air from all that, like,
Hmm.
weird
That weird
period of
energy.
comedy.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but what a whirlwind, like,
I
learning all
know.
that, like, because there's no manual,
It's
instruction
true.
manual.
There is none.
It's
There
like,
is
oh
none,
god,
you know, and
like,
it's like
people
you have to do what's good for you. Like I think if somebody tried to do that to me now,
yeah,
I'd be like, no. I'd be like, and you
exactly,
are? Who are you?
exactly,
Sort
yeah,
of
it
thing.
just
Oh, you've
it
never
took
done this
such a
before?
shock.
I gotta go. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, have a nice
exactly.
day. You
For
know,
sure.
bye.
Yeah, it's tough because sometimes it comes as such a shock, somebody's abrupt, like, you're like, "What is happening? Like, what do I
Exactly.
is this
Yeah.
for
Who
real?"
asked you?
Yeah, like,
It's-
I don't even, like, make small talk with people, they just come up and aggressively be like,
yeah.
"You're never gonna be someone's wife." I was like, what part of my set
It's
was
like,
like
excuse me. I know, it's
saying
like
that?
this
Yeah.
unsolicited stuff, and I don't know. I just think a lot of people think um that we're open to their unsolicited ideas and thoughts and things, and it's like, no, we're not. We're not.
Mhm.
Like, would you go up to a man and say that? Probably not. But you feel
Yeah.
compelled to say it to me,
Exactly.
you know?
Well, even, like, the one the one gig when somebody was like, "Oh, I wanna see your vulva," or whatever, because you have a bit about
Oh, yeah.
vulva, and you're like, "Whoa, would anybody go up to a man after a show and be like, 'I wanna see your dick,' because
I
you
want to
made
see
a
your
joke
dick.
about
You
your
talked
dick?"
about your dick.
Like,
Can I see it? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
how is this a welcoming space for vulva talk suddenly? Like,
I
in the
know.
we were, like, mid-conversation, and
Yes.
somebody's just
Yes. This guy just
we had
came
a
up. Can I see your vulva? And
yeah.
both of us were like,
And sometimes you don't know how to respond on the spot to these
and he was
things.
like,
You're
oh,
like, "Oh."
your joke. Ah, ha, ha. And I was like, ah, ha, ha. No.
Like, "Stay away from my
Yeah. Get
hair
away
and my
from
vulva,
us.
thank you."
Yeah.
Unless
And
he's,
that's
like,
the
with
thing.
a
We were mid
significant other.
conversation.
Yes,
It's not like we were
during
just
a
sitting
couple of
there,
things.
whatever, mid conversation, and he
Yeah,
just, can I see your vulva? Yeah, I forgot about that.
I know. Yeah, selective memory, but that was the same night that I had the different comment
Yes,
of,
you
"You're
had
never
the,
gonna
oh,
be
you're not
someone's
going to
wife,
find a
would you?"
husband.
And yeah, we were having a conversation, me
Yeah,
and
we
you,
were in
like,
a,
no
like
no
with the comment to you, we were in a
yeah,
booth at the
yeah, we were,
back.
like, not even
Yeah.
near most of these
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
just,
And
like,
even, and
randomly
with me,
yell.
we were sitting at, people had left and we were at a table away from people. Like we were
Exactly.
having our own thing and hey. Yeah, we were off. I
Random.
remember like with the comment to you, we were in a booth. And then
Yeah,
the comment with me, we were at a table by ourselves
I
mid
know.
conversation
Yeah,
and
just unsolicited commentary all
unsolicited.
around.
Yeah, interruption and just unsolicited. And it's
Oh
like,
my
really?
god.
Really?
Yeah, I can't.
I can't either. I can't.
I
It's,
have had normal yeah, I have had, like, normal older men just like, I will get off a stage and they'll be like, "That was brilliant," and send me a drink to my table and not even look at me creepy, not even try to talk to me, not even expect me to talk to them, and I
yes.
haven't even like, I have, for what it's worth, very few times had normal experiences, people who just like my performance art or
Yes.
comedy or and don't come up with all this like weird stuff. So I guess
Hmm.
not, there is a handful of good experiences, and
Yeah.
obviously like the high you get from performing itself and everything. But yeah, the odd, weird, jarring experience
I
is just
know.
like
I know.
we're always
Yeah.
buckled up for something weird
Yeah.
every
Yeah,
night, that's
exactly. And
part of
then
it.
if you get through a night without something, it's like, whew, thank God. But you're all like, I'm
Yeah,
always on alert. Like, is something weird?
same.
Is some weirdo gonna say something to me, or is some
Yeah, I think my weirdest is only like off stage is like walking out of clubs late at night, like the smoker clan, one guy being like, "Hi, sweetheart," and like,
yeah.
I was like, "Ew, I'm walking my car along this
Yeah.
creep." Like, I
Yeah.
can't
That's
come.
happened to me too. That's
Yeah,
happened
I
to
think
me
that's the
too.
worst, just some of the off stage
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
off stage, on
It's
stage.
leaving. Yeah. Because, that's usually done at night. We're usually
Mhm.
leaving places late at night by ourselves. And yeah, that can be that can be scary sometimes.
For sure.
That can be scary sometimes. I try to walk out with someone or whatever, but you can't always do that. That's not always possible. And yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's a whole layer of concerns that we have that men don't even have to think about.
yeah,
There's
for
a whole
sure.
layer of like about safety and stuff like that we are acutely aware of, like all the time, not just in terms of at shows and stuff, just in life in general, just existing,
Yeah,
that
so
we
true,
think
right?
about that they don't have to, and they're fortunate to not have to worry about things like that.
Yeah,
That's a good thing, sort of thing.
yeah. Oh my God.
I wish we didn't have to either.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
but yeah, I always get a little nervous with I think it was one of the last times I was in Montreal, and the same thing. I finished, and actually I hadn't even gone up yet. I was waiting to go up. I was waiting to go up, and the bartender came up to me and was like, "Oh, that gentleman over there would like to buy you a drink." And I was like, "Well, I'm going up right now." And
Oh, jeez.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was just awkward because I hadn't even gone up yet,
Mhm.
you know? Yeah,
Random.
it was just weird. It was just strange. It was just strange. Yeah. But
Totally.
yeah. But okay. So let's wrap this up. And I have a section I just call it crazy questions.
Okay, sounds
So
fun.
we could do a few, and I'll ask you to pick a number between 1 and 249, because I accidentally deleted a question, so I only have 249 of them. And the questions range from like silly to like deep, funny, like they run the gamut of everything.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I'll take number 7 to start.
Number 7.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the most useless talent you have?
Oh, hmm. I don't know. Let me see here. I think I don't talents. Ooh, there's not many. I think, I guess art projects. I'm trying to think of what kind of weird talents I got here. Oh yeah, juggling multiple dogs in my own home at once, I guess. Yeah, because I'm like a pet sitter as a side hustle, but it's just
Juggling
like a
animals.
zoo in here. Yeah, plus like Zoom calls. Yeah, it's just hilarious. Like, especially holidays. Yeah, Christmas and August. Very busy. So many pets.
Okay, let's do another one.
Oh, I'll pick 50.
50. Okay, let's see. Okay, this is a strange one. Would you rather have hands that kept growing as you got older, or feet that kept growing as you got older?
I think feet, because they're just kind of out of the way ish until you can walk.
Ish. Until you try to
But
walk.
yeah, my hands, I don't know. I feel like the hands are just need normal size, not like gigantic.
Your hands like
Yeah, that sounds really brutal.
yeah, that would be awkward. I wonder how like quickly they're growing? Like, is it gradual? Or is it
Yeah, that
like
sounds
5 inches
stressful.
every month or something?
Oh
Oh
my
my God.
god.
Okay, another one?
Yeah, I'll do 75.
75. Okay. Okay. Would you rather never have a toilet clog on you again or never have the power go out again?
Oh, I think never have the toilet clogged because I hate when that happens. Because it,
Okay.
like, can overflow, it's a disaster. It's like a whole
Right.
mopping process.
I think I would have to go with never have the power go out again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. That was a
Yeah,
rough one
neither
to
is
follow.
good. Neither is good, but yeah. Yeah, neither is I don't know. I see the benefits of both, but
Yeah, no kidding. Let's
yeah, I think
have things
I'd have
here
to go with no having power all the time.
for sure.
Okay. And let's do one more.
Okay, I'll do 85.
85. Okay. 85. Who would you let punch you directly in the face?
Oh, probably a small child, but no adults. I don't want any broken limbs. But I can't like name one. I don't know any
Yeah, I
children
want
that want to
Bob to
get
punch
punched.
me in the
Yeah,
face.
like what? Oh, I just have a handy child around that's willing to hit me at
Somebody
any
with
time.
soft hands.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, too
And a
funny.
punch directly to the face, I think,
Yeah,
yeah, anybody, child or otherwise, that would do some damage. I could, especially if you're not expecting it, like a sucker punch directly to the face could cause some real damage, I
yeah,
think.
exactly, right?
Oh man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for
And
having me. It was fun.
yeah. And where can people follow you if they want to know like what you're up to with comedy?
Yeah, I think Instagram's the best place. So at Creative Christabelle, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay, sounds good. I'll be sure to put your Instagram handle in the show notes. And
Perfect.
thank you again. And thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.